So, hello and welcome to a bumper episode 7 of Turn 5 podcast. Today we have reviews of 3 different racing series. We've decided to postpone Formula E to next week's episode. We'll talk about that in our Monaco preview because there was just so much racing. And once we're finished talking about Formula 1, Formula 3, and Formula Regional European by Alpine, certified by the FIA, we've got track changes. Do they work? Because obviously there was quite a big change to the Spanish layout. So let's go for it. Spanish Grand Prix, 1 sentence. Richard, go.
Disappointing, but not boring.
Alex?
Better than expected, thanks to Hamilton and Verstappen.
Ben?
Lewis at it again.
Nia?
Exciting for Spain, but overall pretty average race.
For me, surprisingly not bad.
I think that's what everyone's sort of taken from this, is that it was Spain. We were expecting just a procession, but actually there was something going on at the front for once.
Yeah.
And while it might not have been multiple on-track overtakes, it was still, interesting in the fact that there was a strategy to who would actually end up in front at the end of the race.
Yeah,
so,
it was still pretty ridiculous how close you had to, how much faster than the car in front you had to be to overtake, as we saw at the start. But then I think the whole 1 versus 2 stop made it really interesting, especially as obviously the 2 was clearly the way to go in the end. So it caused there was that massive midfield scrap at the end, wasn't there, which was really exciting.
And
it was like
for
a
the
five-way fight for the final point.
Yeah.
For the first time this season, we can say new track record. Max Verstappen beat the previous race best time of a 1:18.4 by doing a 1:18.1 in the final laps of the race to set a new track record for Spain. So I know the experts were predicting we wouldn't be seeing track records fall until about Abu Dhabi. We've seen it in round 4.
Well, is that down to the layout change though? Because technically it is a new layout, so that would have its own track record. But it is an outright fastest of all of the layouts we've had. So like Albert Park, we're going to have a new track record. But that's because we've got changes that are set to remove about 5 seconds a lap off. So
I don't think the changes made that much of a difference because we've seen the qualifying times were still slower than what we were having last year in Spain. So I think it does just go down as the new race record. Although it didn't say that on the TV graphic. I was quite disappointed. I was looking forward to new track record. It's like just fastest lap. F1, bring back the track record graphic. We like it. So let's do it the way we always do. Let's go back to the start of the weekend. Free practice. Mercedes dominating. Yeah, Mercedes dominating the Friday, but not the Saturday.
Well, I mean, we didn't even get like 5 minutes into the session without Mazepin doing his trademark maneuver. So,
yeah, I don't even think we got 3. Was it 3 minutes then, roughly?
It was like the
2 minutes
something lap, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was ridiculous.
2 minutes
again. So you repeated Imola, spinning right at the start. He had, even by his standards, he had a pretty hectic weekend, didn't he?
It was such a strange place to lose it as well. Turn 8.
Yeah, that's normally almost flat.
Yeah, you expect them to lose at turn 9 sometimes, like by going wide and hitting the gravel.
Yeah, you get a bit of a tank slapper on the exit.
Yeah, but I don't think I've ever seen anyone lose it in turn 8. And Mazepin's just like, haha, spin, go burr.
We had Nissany and Kubica in for Russell and Kimi in FP1.
We did.
And Mazepin couldn't even beat Kubica or Nissany. But to put it in perspective,
and Kubica didn't finish the session.
And Mazepin was on a set of softs and Kubica was on a set of hards. So And Mazepin got in the way of Charles on the way to turn 4.
Yeah.
Quoting, Mazepin will never change.
And this is just
Shock.
FP1. We
Yeah.
haven't even got to the new graphic that the new team radio that he created.
Yeah, we'll get to that when we talk about the race. But also in FP1, for those of you who may be a little confused as to why on the back of Nissani's car, the light was green as opposed to red as for all the other drivers, it's because Nissani doesn't have a super license. He's got what's known as a Friday license. And so he's allowed to compete in FP1 and I think FP2. But not any other sessions in the weekend. Anyone with a red flashing light holds a full super license and can compete in full Grand Prix. So that's the reason for that slightly different colour. Yeah, qualifying then. Practice was practice.
Yeah, practice was just like who's destroying their car. Like we had a bit of Vettel's front wing come off. Kimi had a puncture from what was suspected to be a camera in the curb. But other than that, it was just Spain. Yeah. So
qualifying, pretty good session. For Spain.
We had the classic final chicane congestion, which resulted in Mazepin getting a 3-place grid drop. Which was
20th.
a 0-place grid
from
drop.
20th to 20th.
Because he's useless.
Really rubbing the salt in the wound there.
Yeah, I think the point they do it is just for the super license points that they give them.
Yeah, the penalty points.
Yeah.
Also made Ricardo miss the flag. During one of the qualifying sessions. I think it was Q3. Yeah.
Yeah, it was at the end, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I was making lots of notes at that point.
I don't think anyone improved in the final run, did they?
No, Norris didn't because he damaged his car in the first run.
It was a strange one.
So
I'm pretty sure it happened all weekend.
Ricardo and Perez only did 5 laps in Q3. Every other driver done 6. So
it's weird.
Perez quite some distance off, nearly a second off the pole time.
He was not feeling great, wasn't he?
He had a shoulder
injury. Yeah.
Even Helmut Marko stood up for him. It's like, it's serious then.
If Helmut's in a forgiving mood, Christ, you've got to be on death's door, haven't you?
Yeah, and it wasn't. Then. Yeah, Helmut forgiving someone that isn't Max.
We're gonna go back to Monaco, and Sergio's gonna have a full prosthetic arm. And that's why Helmut's forgiven him, is because he needed his arm off instead.
Sergio becomes the Winter Soldier. What?
Does he get the programming that comes with it? Because he might speed up a bit then. Wasting no time, firing those shots. I mean, it's getting to the point now that he needs to pick up his pace. The commentary teams are saying it. Max needed a rear gunner. He didn't have it.
But then, even put Sergio in P4.
It puts them in an uncomfortable position, though.
Yeah,
it's more uncomfortable than Leclerc's P4. Okay, hit. If it's Perez, he's probably slightly closer to Bottas than Leclerc was. So
I can get that, but he would still have had the free stop. So given
he's still yet to have a normal race, is he? Where he qualifies 4th and he ends up 4th after the first lap. So I mean, they keep saying, he's outright.
Did they not have a pretty normal race? They qualified.
Well, I mean, he got hung out to dry on strategy, but
he qualified 4th and he finished 4th.
True.
He was behind Norris for ages, though, wasn't he? So
he got stuck.
They keep saying, his pace in clear air is really good, but he's always too late to the party.
That's the problem. They say, Bottas's pace is really good in clean air because the Mercedes is designed to lead from the front. But as soon as he gets behind someone, he's 5-6 tenths slower, and it's well, that's no good. You're a race driver, not a time trial. So
how much?
Pull it out.
How much of Perez's struggles though is Perez is slow, or is it the Red Bull is only drivable by one driver?
I mean, we know for a fact that Perez isn't slow because he's dragged that dog of a Force India
he
around
finished
for many
fourth
years.
last year.
This is what we
in
said
the
off
driver
air.
standings.
This is what I said off air at the start. He's lower in the championship now in the Red Bull than he was in the Racing Point.
Yeah.
And
I think
right.
just like up until about now, like the fourth race, it could be said that he's just getting used to the car. But by now, like even Daniel's getting used to the car. So it's like
that's the thing.
All
of
the
drivers
problem, or is
not
it the
so
driver?
much. Yeah, not so much getting used to the car, but is the car just designed for one driver and one driver's driving
that's
style?
what I said. Like up to now, you could argue that he's just getting used to the car. But from now on, it's really, is it actually the car or is it the driver? Are they just not up to Max's standard, or is it the car is only drivable for one driver?
I think it harkens back to Drive to Survive, where Christian Horner turned around and said, our goal is to have Max Verstappen be world champion. Not to have Red Bull be world champions, not to have one of our drivers be world champion, to have Max Verstappen be world champion. All their eggs are in one basket. And you see it time and time again when they just hang the second driver out to dry.
Like they wanted to get Max to be the youngest world champion. Well, he's too old for that now. So like,
let's just have him be world champion.
Yeah, you just want him to be world champion. So it's like, you have two drivers.
Yeah.
Use them.
You have two drivers. Just win.
Winning is a start.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Bottas has his critics, but he's usually there, isn't he? With Hamilton. I mean,
he's a proven race winner.
Yeah. I mean, it can't be right that Gasly, a race winner, Albon did well in Toro Rosso, and now Perez, race winner, one of the drivers of the season last year, could be so far off.
Yeah. I don't even know if I would put Perez as one of the drivers of last season. I would possibly say he was quite possibly the driver of last season.
I'd probably put him and Gasly.
Yeah, the fact that he finished fourth, having missed 2 races. I think it's just incredible. I think he probably was the best driver of last year.
Yeah, my problem is that the fact that all of the drivers on the grid have done so many laps of Spain that they probably know their way around it in their sleep.
Yeah.
Like Danny, in the interviews before, Danny was like, it's nice to come to a known quantity of the track. Even though they've reprofiled turn 10, most of it is the same. They've done testing there for years, races there for years. It's something the drivers have droned around for hours on end. And Danny used that to his advantage and really took a step forward this weekend. But Perez hadn't. He's still pretty much where he was from Portugal, really. And he needs to take that next step to really take the fight to, Bottas, really. But.
And I know obviously we're calling out Red Bull for sort of putting their eggs in one basket, and Mercedes used team orders this weekend, but
Bottas said he was doing his own race.
Well, the but I was going to say is Hamilton was only 7 points clear of Verstappen. You can gain 7 points on a driver by finishing 1-2. So it was 8 points clear because of the fastest lap. So they would have been back to 1 point. That had championship ramifications. Red Bull leaving Sergio out for 60 laps or whatever it was last week in Portugal on mediums had no championship ramification. They just left them on the circuit.
Rolling roadblocks that
they literally just abandoned
work.
them.
So if you can hold up, Lewis. Never mind, let's pit.
Yeah.
That was basically it. And I mean...
And they were never going to hold up Lewis on fresh tyres.
No. But I mean, this week was different. Like Charles got the jump on him, and then just parked it in front of Sergio, and that was pretty much it for his race. So I don't know. I still think Sergio is missing something. I know that the car is aimed specifically at Max, but at the same time, we know Sergio is no slouch of a driver. He's been in many teams, many different car setups, different regs and aero profiles and whatever. He can drive anything. he just needs to speed it up because Red Bull are losing a lot of ground in the Constructors' Championship now.
Yeah, it's 30 odd points or something.
Yeah. 29 points. So.
And if the race finishes, well, Lewis could, in theory, take an entire race win of a lead in the championship in Monaco. He's currently 14 points ahead. So Monaco can do Monaco things. Someone could crash. Mazepin could take someone with
Mazepin
them.
will crash.
Yeah, how many times will Mazepin crash?
Residents are reinforcing their buildings.
Yeah.
So I'm going to predict a red flag in every session.
Are we
apart
going
from
to do
Q2 and Q3?
Yes. Are we going to get a Michael Schumacher-esque red flag in Rascasse?
Yeah.
Or we're going to get an actual team radio, no heroics in the Sandavon, please.
Please.
After Mazepin bins it into that barrier every session, Jet takes over the radio.
Just, Mazepin's race engineer just plays that over and over every time he passes Sandavon.
I mean, after the first lap, he's not close enough to anyone to do any heroics.
True.
But yeah, more on that next week. But yeah, I think Monaco is going to be a big telling thing for the championship because Monaco is going to be won and lost on strategy, and that seems to be where Mercedes have the one up on literally everyone.
Yeah, they really did.
Is their strategy.
Well, I mean, it was, you heard it on commentary. Even Max's race engineer said it on the radio. It was Hungary 2019 again. Yeah,
it was just the pain in Max's race engineer when they saw Lewis come in, and you just heard the radio graphic. Verstappen, it's Hungary 2019 all over again, mate. Oh no!
It was honestly, it was so painful. I think I put something in the Discord that was just basically like someone having flashbacks to wartime, and it's just because those fresh tyres would have had such an advantage on that outlap that even if he'd boxed on the next lap, he would have still come out behind Hamilton.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing.
Hamilton was closing by 2 seconds a lap on some laps.
There's nothing. I mean, I don't know what else they could really have done. I mean,
there was nothing they could do.
Unless
they had to be the first one to box.
Yeah, unless they pitted before. But even then, I mean, we saw in Bahrain when Verstappen had a tyre advantage, he still couldn't overtake. Would he have been able to close down that? Because obviously, Mercedes would have stayed out, wouldn't they? So would Verstappen be able to close that gap in the car that wasn't quite so quick on a track that
would have had to get past Bottas?
Yeah, and Hamilton had much better mediums on, didn't he, than Verstappen did?
I will echo my sentiments from last week, and that is that Mercedes is looking a lot more like a Mercedes again. I don't think there's any other car in the grid that could have stayed within a second of the car in front, lap after lap after lap after lap.
Yeah, no, you saw it with the other drivers. You saw it with the other drivers; their tires were just dying as soon as they tried to stay with them. So it was kind of that like drop back push, desperately try and get past, and then no, okay, let's take a couple bets to heal the tires a bit.
Yeah,
but
I mean, that's usually an issue for Mercedes, isn't it? Following other cars, you often see you have to drop back a couple of seconds, but he was within DRS or sort of 1.5 seconds. It's so long, wasn't he?
Yeah, and every lap basically.
Yeah, I think
except from just after the pit stops.
Yeah, I think at the moment, well, it was Portugal and Spain were both tracks that favoured Mercedes, and I think Monaco will be as well. But it seems as though the race pace is where Mercedes' strengths really are, but the qualifying, like 1 lap pace, is still very even. I mean, it was like 36 thousandths again, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really tight.
Yeah.
I don't know. Red Bull always go well at Monaco though, so and I think that's going to be an incredibly closely fought Q3.
Yeah.
And much like Spain, much like we thought Spain was going to be, I think turn 1 is going to be quite critical in that race.
Yeah.
As much as the pit stops are also important, because I listened to some interviews after the race, and Max wasn't actually expected in for that first pit stop, which is why
he just showed up
not there. So yeah, it's going to be another strategy race because it's Monaco. And we've all made our thoughts on Monaco clear in previous podcasts. But I mean, I don't mind Monaco because there is still at least a strategy element, unlike other circuits on the calendar. Paul Ricard. But at the same time,
almost like you don't like Paul Ricard.
I know what could ever that be?
I mean, you made it quite subtle. I won't lie, but
but no, I'm hopeful that, because obviously the 2022 car is getting smaller, I'm hopeful that will encourage slightly more overtaking around Monaco. But I mean, it's the tiniest sprint circuit going, so it's still going to be difficult either way. But yeah, it's another strategy race, which is I don't mind them, but I really just want to see, you know, on track battles. So Spa is my thing.
Monaco is where Perez has to come into play for Red Bull as well. Really, literally, it's if he can stay in that pit window, then
he has to become a rolling roadblock.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think Monaco is one of those tracks that it's a bit more difficult to drop the rest of the grid as well. And gaps usually take a lot longer to form in Monaco.
We're going to have the added problem of Mazepin.
Yeah.
How many laps is it going to be until they lap him? Because I don't think it's going to be that many, because I think he's going to be about 3 seconds a lap slower than anyone.
That's assuming he's still in the race.
Yeah.
True. I just think he'll be going so slowly that he won't actually do enough damage if he hits the wall. But basically,
he's going to use his entire allocation of front wings.
What I'm trying to get at is blue flags and Mazepin are, how do you say, the
I pretend I do not see.
Worst of friends. And especially around Monaco, traffic is going to be an even bigger problem, because the Williams and the Haas and
to a point the Alfa Romeo
are slow, and it's going to be how quickly they catch him up and how quickly you can negotiate him and where you catch him up. Because if you're catching him up start of sector 2, you're probably going to have to wait till the tunnel.
Yeah, if you catch him into lows, like
even into Mirabeau.
Yeah. It's not called lows anymore. What?
I mean, I still call it lows hairpin. It's always been called
just be
lows
called the
hairpin
hairpin now.
So,
I think they dropped the name of lows, but yeah, it'll forever be lows hairpin, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like it's like we still call Imola, even though it's Enzo Adino Ferrari.
Yeah.
It's Imola. So
I guess then again, we don't always call tracks by their name.
Well, I mean, we got enough Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya at this one, didn't we?
Yeah.
So,
as opposed to just Barcelona or Spain. Yeah. I think us as Formula One fans are prone to be a little bit lazy and just call a track by where it is.
Yes. Definitely don't do that in the thumbnails, because it's shorter and easier to fit in.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like 2021 Spain GP review or 2021 Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya GP review,
or
one of those fits nicely.
Would you like Formula One Aramco Gran Premio de España 2021 review?
Or whatever the Emilia Romagna one was.
Oh yeah,
I'd have had to do that in about size 4 font.
Formula One Pirelli
Gran
Premio del Made in Italy e Emilia Romagna. Yeah.
Wait. Formula One Pirelli Gran Premio del Made in Italy del Emilia Romagna 2021.
Which is why we just call it Imola.
Yeah.
I did put in like the title, like brackets Emilia Romagna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's mainly called Emilia Romagna or Imola.
Yeah. It's the region or the old track name. So
yeah.
But yeah, that's why F1 fans are lazy. But oh god, what I've got a list of stuff that sort of happened in the race. Well, should we start at the beginning? Gasly, what was he doing? Like, it's all about getting in, like right to the front of your grid box. But he wasn't even in the grid box. He was solidly past his line.
His front wheels were way beyond.
Yeah. And then, yeah, it really wasn't a great start for AlphaTauri, was it? Because then, like 8 laps later, Tsunoda's engine just decided it wanted to go home.
It really wasn't a great race for AlphaTauri.
They can't seem to get
second race in a row, they've just scored 1 point.
They can't seem to get a good weekend together, can they? Well, there was the whole Tsunoda situation, wasn't there? I think we kind of skipped that out in qualifying, talking about Monaco. But yeah, they weren't happy. They weren't too happy with it, or he wasn't happy with the team, was he? With the car, which was.
I think he was complaining that they didn't have the same car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
that's
maybe
what he said in the interview.
Maybe he needs to tone down his I don't know, passion.
Did you
just don't press the radio button?
Did any of you see Marcus Ericsson's tweet about Tsunoda?
No.
No.
Hold on.
It's like a race, I think it was last season in Formula 2, where I think the driver just forgot to let go of the radio button.
Just constant broadcast.
And yeah, you just heard the team shouting over the radio, "Let go of the radio button." Shut up.
We can't hear anything anymore. Right, what else have we got? Ericsson's
tweet in the Discord.
Oh, okay.
He said it was fun the first time or two, but now it's getting a bit too much. Instead of swearing, complaining, and acting like a kid that doesn't get his candy, he should focus on getting the most out of himself in the car. He's fast, but seems like his own worst enemy at the moment. And that was quote tweeted Autosport Live, saying Tsunoda, on learning of his Q1 exit, has said some nasty words over the team radio. I hope there's a swear jar at AlphaTauri. Will be a nice little earner by the end of the year.
Well, I mean, the problem is he's learnt his English from race engineers and mechanics, so his vocabulary is.
Are you sure
swearing.
He hasn't learned his English from Gunther Steiner?
This is also a possibility. But he was part of the Red Bull Junior program, so my suspect is Helmut Marko. He's heard him from the office, and he just slammed Principal's door, just muffled swearing.
Or just Red Bull second drivers talking about their teams.
Oh god!
I guess the obvious thing to point out is Tsunoda has an F1 seat and Ericsson does not.
Yeah.
But
I don't think Ericsson ever really did that well, to be honest.
No.
So
he was always sort of languishing at the back.
Yeah, I mean, most of that is down to the fact that he was in a car that was languishing at the back. He was with Sauber.
Yeah.
I remember he was in a Sauber when he binned it at Monza, but that was just like a technical issue. But
and then remember he hit Roman.
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh,
we can't forget.
Was it Kevin?
It was Roman.
Which one of the Haas crashes was it?
Which one of the plentitude? But no, it's like if he'd actually achieved a decent amount in F1, I could understand his comments, but at the same time, he didn't really kick on in F1 and make himself a prospect to be signed by a bigger team. So I think he kind of needs to just, keep it to himself, to be honest. Yuki's doing his own thing. He's learning, and at least he's being vocal about what he wants to change. You know, he's taken steps. We've seen it. He started the year strong. Then he sort of tried to overdrive the car a bit in Imola and ended up binning it. And now he's kind of, I guess, underdriving the car. So I still think he's got pace in him. That is obvious. I just think he needs to find the balance to not overcook it, because he was quick in Bahrain, and until he binned it in Imola, he had been going quick there as well at the weekend. So it's, I think, given that he is a complete rookie, he will take a bit longer to settle in. But
especially he doesn't have as much experience in Formula racing as Mick, or
Well, yeah, because he has shot
because he
through
only
the
had-
ranks.
Yeah, he only did like 3 junior series and then was in Formula One.
Yeah, he only
Mick
spent
did,
a year in Formula 3, a year in Formula 2, and he did in Formula 1.
Whereas
and
Mick
then,
did 2 and 3 and 2 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
And Mazepin did however many he did.
I know, really.
Too many.
Mm.
Well,
Shouldn't have been in the sport.
Well, not enough, really, when you think about it.
No, too many. It's one is too many.
Depends which way you
should
look
have
at
just
it. Yeah.
not been there. I take the I don't want him here approach. You take the he should still be down there to try and improve approach.
I'm going by the fact that there was much more deserving drivers of that seat than him.
On my lot.
Yeah,
Well,
as I say, I raised
Also
Callum
right.
Ilott.
Yeah.
Callum Ilott raises himself. Jack Aitken would
Yeah.
quite comfortably put his name in that ring.
Jack Aitken laughs in Mercedes junior driver.
Yeah. But then
I think
even
he's a Williams junior driver,
yeah,
but
he's a
Williams
Williams.
sort of feeds to Mercedes,
Yeah.
so he laughs in Mercedes.
Maybe Jack Aitken gets George's seat.
That's implying George is going anywhere.
If he does
Mercedes.
go to Mercedes.
Then why
Yeah,
the swap
if he
after?
does go to Mercedes, Jack gets George's seat.
Possibly.
when he goes to Mercedes.
Yes.
I believe that is a pretty much done deal at this point, unless Toto keeps screwing him around and doesn't give him a seat, and he goes looking elsewhere once the regulations have changed and he can see who's come out on top. Then I don't see him not being in
Lewis
Mercedes.
is talking about extending his contract by 2 years.
Yeah,
if
that's
Seb
what-
doesn't,
basically.
if Seb doesn't stick around, I could maybe see George taking a pit stop at Aston Martin.
Another Mercedes-powered team, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's not going to get a drive at McLaren
No.
because they're pretty comfortable with their lineup as is.
Yeah.
So the only other team that sort of leeches off Mercedes' reserve driver quota as and when they need it is Aston Martin, and they are further up the field just than Williams. But I still think that's going to depend on how well the regulation changes benefit people, because we've seen just this small regulation change and it's completely screwed Aston Martin over.
I think next season will be totally different because every team is starting from scratch. It's totally new cars rather than this season where it's like, yeah, take last year's cars, but we're going to change the rules.
You know what I really want, though? I want next year to have no testing. I want you to turn up in FP1 in Australia with no data and just go.
See, that would be fun, but
Until they all start clocking out.
I love testing.
Yeah, but they just get so much data. And then they have like 3 weeks.
24 hours of Formula One.
Yeah, but
there's
so much
no
data.
There's no other weekend of the season that you can say you get 24 hours of track action.
Well, I mean, you used to get more.
Yeah, last season it was 48 hours, which was even better. I was sitting in uni with my lecture notes open on one slide and pre-season testing on the other side.
Where was I? I was on placement, so I could only listen to the radio.
See, that's why you record it and watch it when you get home.
That's why I needed a skybox, but I didn't have one.
Fair.
I was teaching during this year's testing. I was teaching a lesson in Army Cadet, so I just had the timing just on the screen next to me. I got given a presentation about, I can't remember what I was teaching. It was like the history of the Army Cadet Force on one slide and then just timings on the other. So like real professional.
Yeah. Let's hope your superior officers aren't watching this. Shall we go team by team and then move on to Formula 3?
Well, there's a couple of things I wanted to bring up first.
Oh, okay.
One was something I've never seen before.
What's that?
Was Giovinazzi's flat tyre before it even got on the car.
Yeah. How did that happen? Like,
that was a very good spot from the mechanic.
Yeah.
The mechanic just puncture it?
I don't know, but the fact that like we came to it just after the mechanic had like punched the tire to show that it was flat, and so all the commentators were like, what's going on?" And then we see the replay like 4 laps later, and he punches the tire, and it's got no air in it whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it's so bizarre.
How is that possible?
I mean, he got totally screwed by that because he had to get put on a
Yeah.
used set of mediums, which
And
was
he
just
didn't-
kind of F.
He
I
didn't
did
catch
find
the
it
safety
quite
car
funny that one of the
Mhm.
commentators was like, "Oh, how did they not notice that when they picked it up? Because
It's the
they're
same
lifting the
weight.
tire by the rim, not by the tire."
And the air doesn't make a lot of difference to it.
Yeah,
Most of the
it's
weight,
air. Yeah,
most of the
I
weight
think-
comes from the rim itself.
I think it was either Paul di Resta or Crofty turned around and was like, "Yeah, it's just going to be the same weight."
Is it Brundle,
So-
wasn't it?
Oh, was it Brundle?
Yeah.
There's too many
Yeah,
people.
it was Brundle and Crofty commentating.
Yeah.
And then Brundle Jr. was commentating the Formula 3,
Yeah,
which is brilliant because he uses the same sayings as his dad.
Yeah, he does, and he sounds exactly like him.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
other thing was obviously we had the slow Red Bull pit stop, and then Mercedes didn't have any pit stop issues this week.
they didn't.
They had
Smooth.
good pit stops. I believe all of them were sub 3 seconds.
Yeah, one was a 2.4, I think.
Exactly. So that's good.
Yeah.
On lap 29, Alpine radio message saying that Alonso was managing an engine issue. Don't know how badly that affected him, but he bombed out of the points at the end. There was a black and white flag for Norris. I believe that was the late move on Sainz. But he said in the interview afterwards, he never meant anything by it. It was just a bit delayed. And I think, did Stroll get one as well? Because Stroll's was even later on Gasly. Mazepin was lapped on lap 27 of 66. Not even half race distance, and he got lapped.
And there
We
was a
love
safety
the
car.
Haas. Yeah, and there was a safety car. Yeah.
So, not great. So that's pretty much my rundown of key things. Like, the other thing was like by lap 60, Charles had a free pit stop over Perez because Perez had made his second pit stop.
Yeah.
So,
in fact, talking of Mercedes' good pit stop, they came 5th and 10th in the fastest pit stop award for Spain.
Nice.
With a the 5th one was 2.25 for Bottas, which was 0.09 seconds slower than Stroll's, which was the fastest at 2.16.
That's absolutely classic.
So literally
Mercedes.
a 10th off. Yeah.
Just one tiny weakness, and they fix it immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one big oof, and that was when Alonso and Vettel came into the pits at the same time, and Alonso's pit stop was 1.5 seconds quicker.
Yeah.
And you could just see it, and it was just pure pain because Alonso had just easily gained 1.5 seconds over Vettel, and it's just It's a race like Spain, pit stops are important.
Something else we've never seen before that we did briefly touch on earlier, FIA Radio. Michael Massey spoke out saying that it is something they've been working on for quite some time, and this was the first race that was available, so do expect to hear some more.
It was quite a nice surprise to hear, Toto.
Yeah. So more team principals shouting at Michael Massey for blue flags and Mazepin?
And possibly, there might possibly be communication in the other direction. So take, for instance, Bahrain, where Michael Massey would have been on the radio to Horner saying, give that position back. We might be able to hear that.
That would be interesting.
It was quite disappointing that we did only hear Toto shouting and we didn't hear Michael's reply, even if it was just a copy that.
Leave me alone, Toto.
Leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. But yeah, no, it was quite interesting to see. I think I was quite confused when it appeared on my screen.
Yeah,
like,
I saw
that graphic looks wrong. What's going on?
FIA Radio? What's this?
The fact that it was like FIA Mercedes, I was like, hang on.
Yeah,
I saw the slash. I was
right.
Because
FIA is Mercedes now?
Yeah, it was like FIA Radio at the top, and then below it was at the bottom of the graphic where it normally says the driver's name. It was Mercedes, and even the wee sort of speech bubbles, it was half dark blue and half the sort of turquoise. Yeah.
When I see it, I always notice the colours first, and then identify who it is by the colours. I saw a slash in it. I was like, That's not right.
This hasn't happened. What?
I'm sorry, what?
So I think we might be hearing it maybe with track limits and stuff in races that, aren't Monaco.
I mean, they had a chance to use it, really, didn't they, with the black and white flags for Norris and Stroll, but we didn't hear it again. So it was kind of.
I think it was just a test.
Yeah.
This weekend. Yeah. That Michael did say that for the F1 group, it was a bit of a test.
I'm not gonna lie though, if I was gonna test something, I'd test it more than once.
Yeah.
just make sure it actually worked. Maybe they did try it again and it just didn't work.
Yeah, possibly. Or it does just depend on what the rules are for that communication to be broadcast, at least. Because obviously we don't hear every single bit of team radio that goes on. You can hear more team radio on the F1 app than on the broadcast, but yeah, even then, I don't think it's every single bit of team radio.
No, I think you get all of it if you've got F1 TV Pro. In regions where that is allowed.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for us in the UK, that's not.
Because I've gone back through previous, because once it's like the end of the season, we can then go back and look at it in the archive.
Yeah.
But it's uncensored radio as well.
Yeah.
So you had proper. It was Lando Norris swearing at the end of Spa. It was just kind of like, okay, right, we've got uncensored team radio.
Yeah.
Just kind of wish we could get that more.
Yeah, if you've got F1 TV Pro and you're watching the broadcast, you can go on board with any driver, and that does broadcast everything. As for the actual F1 app, I think they capture sound snippets. Because you can have like 4 come through at once. It's quite interesting.
It's still selective, but it's less range.
Selective than the main broadcast. Yeah. But yeah, no. It was a race of new things.
New turn 10.
We'll come to the new turn 10 when we do track changes.
I'm just trying to think of what else happened in the race, to be honest, because apart from like the scrap for 10th at the end where Bottas was just trying to drive through traffic.
So we've sort of spoken about Mercedes and Red Bull going in last year's championship order. McLaren,
solid weekend.
Solid race, yeah.
Lando was kind of gutted to only finish 8th.
Yeah,
at the start of the race,
let him down.
Yeah, he was struggling to pass
P6 and P8.
I looked on the McLaren app because they have like their little team radio stuff as well, and he was saying he was struggling to get past Ocon.
Lando finishing a lap down, first driver. Well, I guess last driver to be lapped, sort of thing.
Yeah. The leader of the lap bunch. But no, Danny Rick's done good.
Danny Rick, 73 seconds down on the leader, 10 seconds down on Checo at the flag.
But P6.
Massive improvement. Yeah. He was quicker all weekend, really, wasn't he?
Yeah, you can see he felt more comfortable with the car. Yeah. So I really think that going to a track that he knew helped him in that respect. Yeah,
which is strange. It was the first time McLaren weren't clearly the third best. They were slow at the Ferrari, weren't they, really?
Yeah.
What did I hear? I heard it. I can't remember where I heard it, but they were talking about it. I think it might have been in the weekend warm-up on why Danny might be struggling with the swap from Renault to Mercedes power units, because apparently the Renault engine has like a really low rev limit, but the Mercedes revs really high. So it's the difference in what that means for like the gear ratios or changing gears or whatever that has, that apparently that could be what he's struggling with. But again, that's all just like weekend warm-up PSA, so very big pinch of salt. But I just find it interesting that the Alpines have one of the highest straight line speeds and a really different engine approach to everyone else.
Yeah, I found that really funny, talking about straight line speeds. The early stages of the race, even though Max and Lewis had absolutely bolted from the rest of the pack, they were 19th and 20th in the speed trap. It was like, oh, interesting.
But the thing is, they could carry their speed through the corners because they weren't following anyone. So it's all well and good having pace down the home straight, but if you can't keep that pace through the corners, then you're nowheresville.
Yeah. So. Aston Martin, another guff weekend. To put it plainly, 0 points.
Still,
it's all just going wrong.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of been highlighted by the fact that they've been dropped down in the F1 play section to join the Haas and the Williams cars
and the Alfa Romeos.
Yeah, true.
And Fernando.
Yeah, just Fernando. But yeah, it's not going well for them. And I know they're all constantly banging on about, the regulation changes affected us the most, and it's like, well,
shut up, Otmar.
Yeah,
You're just
Mercedes have recovered it.
Get on with it. Like,
Mercedes
you've got Lance Stroll now. Just
and more.
Pay.
Exactly.
There's a budget cap, but pay. Develop something of your own.
Yeah.
Vettel doesn't have a point yet, does he? And he hasn't even been close, really, has he, in any of the races? But, I mean, he was in that scrap, that massive scrap for 10th, but he finished he finished 13th, didn't he?
Yeah, P11 and P13.
Yeah, Stroll was unlucky. I mean, that fight was insane at the end.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Stroll somehow managed to go from in the middle of that fight to 5 seconds down.
Yeah, I think the tyre delta at the end, because the Alpines one stop, didn't they? And that really did not work because Alonso.
Yeah, Alonso had to make a second stop. He went from 10th to 17th.
He was like, he was at the front of that 5, and then as soon as he got swallowed by that 5, they were like, we might as well pit.
And I think Gasly went from the back to the front of it, didn't he? Pretty much in the last few laps. Yeah, but Aston Martin, I mean, it doesn't look like improving either. That's the thing. There's no sign of. I mean, Vettel had one Q3, didn't he? But
it's not looking great for them, and it's quite funny.
Yeah.
After last year, they were all like, "Oh yeah, we're going to be amazing," and now they're like, "Please help."
I'm currently regretting my season predictions.
They're
right there. I was like,
I've got evidence right here. But
I had them P3, I think.
I got P4.
I put P4.
McLaren
they're right there, and my choices are.
It'll make Drive to Survive funny again, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, they'll make Otmar's sections of Drive to Survive funny.
They'll make Otmar look really scared at. I was going to say Father Stroll.
Oh no, sorry, I did have them in P4.
I was going to say Father Stroll because I forgot his first name.
Lawrence. I think Alex is on for the win for that prediction.
Yeah, that's the one.
P6.
That's the one prediction I'm actually doing well in.
Yeah.
I think don't I have him 7th, or was it Alpine?
No, you got Alpine 7th.
Okay. I mean, yeah.
There's still time. There's still time.
When I was ridiculed for putting Vettel, like, what was it, 10th or 11th?
Yeah. Oh God, no. Let's just let's not deal with that. We'll deal with that like at the half season point where we do a review.
Yeah.
And then we can all collectively cry at how bad the teams are doing compared to how we put them. What else have we got? Who's next? Sorry, Ferrari, isn't it?
Yeah, Ferrari came 5th last season, so yeah, it's Ferrari finished 6th, so it's
Alpine.
Yes.
2 points. Ocon 9th.
Yeah, probably should have had more if Fernando's tyres hadn't just gave up at the end of the race. Yeah.
It's weird because Alonso literally finished 17th behind Latifi, but he seemed quite happy after the race.
Yeah.
He
had a good race. He only finished 17th because they took that extra stop on lap 60 or something.
I mean, I said this last week. I feel like it's a different Alonso now. He's prepared to accept maybe not being at the front, maybe not having the greatest races, but maybe we're moving towards sort of the Kimi, I'm here for a hobby.
Then again, I think it does come down to the fact that he might have been promised more by that McLaren team. Whereas Alpine, I think, have just been straight up, you will not be fighting for race wins.
You will be lucky if you get a podium.
Yeah, you'll be in the midfield, just go with it. Rather than you'll be in the midfield or you'll be up the front, laughs in 17th
Laughs in
for that
GP2
McLaren.
engine.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it does just vary. Next up is indeed Ferrari. Solid weekend. P4, P7.
Another double points finish.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a good points finish as well. 18 points for the team.
Yeah.
Charles kept P4 for like majority of the race, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like pretty good on his part.
Yeah, he was holding up Bottas
Yeah,
for a
he
solid
was
amount of
third
time.
for a bit. Yeah, and then just Bottas finally got past, and that was it.
Yeah, but Charles
had
had
a
a pretty
pretty
solid
quiet
race.
race after that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Charles finished 28 seconds down on Bottas and 9 seconds ahead of Perez. So he basically just ended up in a world of his own.
Yeah.
Well, that's a nice place to be in P4.
Yeah.
When you're in a car like the Ferrari.
I think the most telling thing was in the first stint, Leclerc really gapped Ricciardo, who was in 5th, which, I mean, that if we're saying that's going to be the battle for 3rd this season.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, that was clearly Ferrari's best, performance of the season.
Sainz as well. I don't think there can be any complaints for Carlos. He was only 9/10ths down on Ricciardo, so it could have easily been P6. I don't think there really can be any complaints with that.
I don't have any. Like he drove a solid race. Just it's Spain. So,
yeah.
I think any other track he probably could have made a couple more positions. Probably would have got Danny, but because it's Spain, he ended up where he was.
He was disappointed at the end, wasn't
he? Yeah, I mean, when
next
you see
up,
the pace that was in the car,
next up, AlphaTauri.
That got off to a rocky start.
Not a great race.
Another dreadful weekend by their standards. A DNF and a P10. So once again, a solitary point.
But at least they got team. A point.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at it that way as a point is encouraging, but that's not where they want to be.
No, but
it's not where they looked to be at the start of the season either.
But when you have a car that conks out on the 8th lap, I think, and then you get a 5-second stop-go penalty, I think you take a point at that stage.
Well, it was just a normal 5-second time penalty rather than a stop-go because they did then service the car. Yeah,
but they're now 5 points clear of Aston Martin instead of 4 points clear. So it's all little margins, but at the end of the day, it's all little margins that decide budgets and wind tunnel time and whatever. So it can make a big difference. So
is that going to be maybe the fight for 5th and Alpine and AlphaTauri possibly?
It's just it's A v A v A v A.
Yeah, I nearly got confused then. I only said, but
it's bad with Alpha v Alpha. Now it's Alpine, Alpha, and Aston. Windmill.
Speaking of Alfa Romeo.
I mean,
half decent weekend.
Kimi had an alright weekend. P12.
Yeah. P12 and P15. I think.
Right.
I don't think you can turn your nose up at that if you're Alfa Romeo.
How many times?
I think Giovinazzi kind of got shafted early doors because of that pit stop.
Yeah.
So I think, had he not had that issue, I could have seen him genuinely being 12th and 13th as a team.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have they been like 11th and 12th now this season?
Pretty much every race. They're one of
they're on the fringes of the points. Yeah.
And they got the penalty in Imola as well. So
Kimi finished 1.159 seconds behind Lance at the flag.
Yeah, because he was in that mad scrap. Like, it was just crazy. You just suddenly the camera changes and there's just 5 cars fighting for it. You're like, whoa.
Well,
this
6
is
if you include Bottas.
Bottas is there like, blue flag,
please. Please let through.
Everyone else is like, no, we want this point.
Yeah. Next up is Haas, P18 and P19, 2 laps down. Only cars to be 2 laps down.
P18.
It's Haas.
Yeah, it wasn't great, but it's more miles under the belt for Mick.
Yeah.
So
all these like predictions we should do like what lap will Mazepin be lapped.
I'm 100% down for that.
The thing is,
I did make note
if he doesn't crash out,
Yes.
Let us know in the comments if you want us to do Mazepin lapping predictions.
Mazepin lap bingo, yeah.
Yeah, just to add to all our other prediction competitions.
And finally, Williams, P14 and P16. George was in that fight for the points at one point, was he not?
Yeah.
He was in 11th at one stage,
Yeah,
and then just suddenly dink, 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 down to 14th.
Yeah, I swear he was in like 7th as well, was he? Like during all the
that
pit
was before he
stuff.
pitted,
Yeah, like
well, he was on the same.
In theory, he could be sitting in the race lead at one point. It's like, but he still has to pit. So
well, he was on the same one stop as the Alpines, wasn't he? And he was right behind. He was quicker than Alonso towards the end, you know, and that was for 10th. So he just unfortunately couldn't get it done. And then all the two stoppers came up behind him, didn't they? But it was weird because they didn't qualify as well as Portimao this weekend, did they? But their race pace was a lot better. Which is,
I think
car.
Well, it's because it got windier as well towards the end, which hurt them. But
so they qualified P19 and P15.
Latifi doing his best to oust Mazepin.
To put things into perspective, Tsunoda's Q1 lap time that saw him eliminated was faster than George Russell's Q2 lap time.
Damn. Okay.
Tsunoda done a 1:18.5. George done a 1:19.1 in Q2. So, I think it does just sort of show that conditions maybe weren't the greatest in Q2.
Well, we said that last week with Q3, didn't we?
Yeah.
So
every other driver seemed to improve, but George got slower. But it doesn't matter. It's whatever session you go out on, not whatever lap time you do. But that's Spain for Formula One. Next up,
should we run
Monaco.
through? Yeah. We've got a week gap, and then we're at Monaco.
Yeah.
Should we run through results and standings?
Yep. So the final classification for the Spanish Grand Prix is here. Yuki Tsunoda DNF on lap 6. It goes down as he stopped. So
I thought it was 8.
I think he maybe stopped on 6. He sort of stayed parked for a while and then they gave up.
Didn't he go to get out, get back in, and then actually get out?
Yeah.
It's so strange.
He stood up in his car.
Yeah, he stood up and the car started rolling, so I think he had to sit back down and slam on the brake.
I didn't see the car rolling. I just saw he stood up.
The car generally just started rolling.
Yeah, I just saw he stood up, sat back down, and then stood back up again. I was like,
I think he was maybe hoping to use the momentum from the car rolling to maybe jump start the car, and it just didn't
start it in reverse.
Yeah.
Oh God.
So in 19th, Mazepin, 18th, Schumacher, 17th, Alonso, 16th, Latifi, 15th, Giovinazzi, 14th, Russell, 13th, Vettel, 12th, Raikkonen, 11th, Stroll. Then the point scorers, Gasly, Ocon, Norris, Sainz, Ricciardo, Perez, Leclerc, Bottas, Verstappen, and Hamilton. Fastest lap went to Max Verstappen with a 1:18.149 on lap 62. So he gains the bonus point as well.
And we didn't mention, well, as I may have said when Ben's Wi-Fi went down a few minutes ago, we didn't mention the 100th pole, did we?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton, first driver ever to reach 100 pole positions. I'm glad that he's done it, but I wish he didn't do it at this race. I wish he had won this week and at Monaco and then done 100 poles and 100 wins at the same race.
Yeah.
That would have been amazing.
A lot of people were hoping he did them both at Canada.
Yeah.
But obviously we couldn't do that.
Yeah,
it would have been Turkey.
Well, that's even if it's
which
Turkey
we
now.
might not be going to.
Yeah.
It'd be France.
Oh, no.
No, please. No.
You could do it at Silverstone, but I think he's going to do it before that.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous, though. Like that's 5 years worth of poles, nearly, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he breaks a record at like every single race now, doesn't he? But
just about. Well, technically, sets a new record anytime he wins or lands on pole position.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so technically he is setting a record every race, basically.
Yeah.
Because he's bound to do one of those things every race.
Basically, every time he drives the car, he sets a record of some sort.
Yeah. Well, it was equal most consecutive wins at the same race, I think.
Yeah.
Senna at Monaco.
I still rate the other one higher because it's Senna at Monaco. Who wins Monaco 5 times on the belt?
Yeah. I think
and he also holds the joint record, or I think he might have taken the record for most wins at a single circuit.
I think he's level with that.
Yeah,
and like
so
most
Hungary
poles
of all
as well.
places.
I think most poles, yes, Australia and
yeah.
But I think I saw someone say, like, if he keeps winning like one every 2 races for the rest of this season or something, which he obviously has been doing for the last few years, he'll have won like 10% of all the races in F1 history. Which, if you think about it, that's
we've had just over 1,000 races.
Yeah,
because F1 1000 was round 3 of the 2019 calendar.
China,
we had 21 races, so that's 1,018. 17 last year's 1,025. So we're on 1,029 races, and Lewis has won 98.
Yeah, I mean,
move over, let George in.
And he's about to sign a 2-year deal as well.
Yeah,
possibly, yeah.
And the most dominant Formula One team in history.
Yeah.
I was going to say that could change with the new regulations.
Yeah, I'm not even sure it will.
The likelihood, though, even if Mercedes are knocked off top spot, is anyone else going to win 7, possibly 8 World Championship doubles in a row?
McLaren.
No. I think McLaren actually got overtaken at the weekend for either most points scored by a single F1 team by Mercedes. That happened. It's now only Ferrari that are ahead.
Isn't it like the only there's only like 3 constructors or something that are ahead of Lewis with most poles?
Yeah, I think.
It's like
Lewis on his own. On his own would just be like the 5th best constructor in history or something.
Ferrari,
I think
McLaren,
it's the 4th,
and someone else. I think. I know Ferrari, McLaren.
Is it possibly Mercedes?
Maybe
I don't actually know.
I think it is Mercedes. When you add in Rosberg and Bottas, I think it probably is Mercedes.
Yeah, maybe Williams as well.
Yeah, I reckon Williams.
Yeah,
I'm sure
they're the only 4 constructors above Lewis.
Yeah, I think I heard it was 4 or 5. So
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Drivers.
Would you like to take us through the driver's standings? Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to enjoy this first bit. In 20th and last place, moving down 1 position from the last race week, is number 9, Nikita Mazepin.
Where he should be.
Back where he belongs. In 19th and up 1 place, it's Nicholas Latifi. And then 18th is Schumacher, staying where he was. 17th is Russell, another non-mover.
Can I interrupt briefly where we're only at 17th place?
Yeah.
So I just did a Google search. Lewis Hamilton has 100 pole positions. Mm-hmm. That would place him 6th on the total pole positions by constructor. Behind Lotus with 107, which he'll likely beat.
Yeah.
Williams on 128, Mercedes on 129, McLaren on 155, so I expect Mercedes to overtake McLaren soon. And Ferrari on 228. But if we go by percentage, Mercedes are the best qualifiers in F1 history because in 55.8% of their entries, they've taken pole position.
Wow.
I would have even thought it'd be more.
Ferrari, on the other hand, have done it in 22.5, McLaren 17.5, Williams 17.3, and Lotus 21.8.
Oh, actually, yeah, because Mercedes literally didn't have one for 3 years, did they, when they came back? And they still got over half. Forgot about that, but yeah.
Yeah.
And has Lewis had a pole position every single season he's raced?
Yeah.
And and a win.
At least
Silver-
one.
No, I don't think it's every single season because I
No,
don't
it
think
is.
they took one in 2013. Or did
Yeah.
they take one
they
pole
did.
position?
It
And
was
No,
just
that
like
was-
one.
He had a few
Yeah.
in 2013, I think.
Oh,
actually.
yeah, because they were in the title battle, actually, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sure he's had a pole and a win every year.
Yeah. Like, he's had
He's
a
definitely had a
pole.
win.
Yeah, he's had a. I think he has a
Um,
pole every year as well. It was like 2010, 2011. He only had one, and every other year he's had at least two. I think
Yeah.
that's roughly it.
Yeah.
It's just annoying how good he is.
Just a
Cheat
second.
code.
But at least he isn't a dick.
True.
That's true. Yeah.
Very true.
It's like on the intro, the intro before the race. It's like he's like the final boss in a video game.
Yeah.
He always gets a very different intro to everyone else. And it really highlights
it's like-
that final boss status.
My
doesn't it?
favourite one in the comments is like, as world champion, you get the privilege of sitting down.
Yeah.
So yeah, 17th is George Russell on a non-mover, Richard.
16th, another non-mover, Sebastian Vettel. 15th, Giovinazzi. 14th, Raikkonen. 13th, Yuki Tsunoda on 2 points. 12th, Fernando Alonso on 5 points. 11th, Lance Stroll on 5 points. 10th is Pierre Gasly on 8 points. 9th is Esteban Ocon on 10 points. 8th is Carlos Sainz on 20 points. 7th is Danny Ricciardo on 24 points. 6th is Sergio Perez on 32 points. And 5th is Charles Leclerc on 40 points. And all of those are non-movers. Then in 4th and down one into his, branding slot, I suppose, is Lando Norris on 41 points. And in 3rd and up one is Bottas on 47 points. And then the top two unchanged, Verstappen on 80 points and Hamilton extending his lead to 14 points as he sits on 94.
Is
And,
it?
His
and,
best start to an F1 season yet.
And Max's as well.
Yeah.
and in the constructors' standings, in 10th is Haas F1 team with nil points. In 9th is Williams with 0 points. In 8th is Alfa Romeo Racing Orlan with 0 points. In 7th is Aston Martin with 5 points. In 6th is AlphaTauri with 10 points. 5th is Alpine with 15 points. 4th is Scuderia Ferrari with 60 points. 3rd is McLaren with 65 points. So getting quite close in that battle for 3rd now. 2nd is Red Bull Racing with 112. And still leading continuously since Germany 2018 is Mercedes AMG Petronas Formula One team with 141 points.
Pain.
Literally nobody's moved in that list. Everyone is where they were.
Also, I'd like to point out, with going down from Alpine to Alfa Romeo, so the 4 A's, you can learn your 5 times tables. It goes up in 5s.
So let's take some brief moments to discuss Formula 3 and Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, certified by the FIA, to give it its full title. A pretty solid 5 races, to be honest.
Oh, 4.5. We
Yeah,
spent 15 minutes in FRECA race 1 behind the safety car.
The all-new
which
safety
came
car.
out. Oh yeah, I must apologise to our listeners for the false information I provided you last week, where I said that if you enjoyed watching a Renault Clio go round the track, you should watch FRECA, because they've got an Alpine A110 as the safety car now, and they've ditched the Renault Clio. So truly, I'm sorry, but I didn't
reminding
know.
us about every 3rd lap had the same engine what was in the actual FRECA car.
They had nothing else to talk about.
Yeah.
There's only like one commentator as well. So
Yeah.
When I'm watching the race, I am really impressed. He memorises all 34 cars' names.
Yeah.
Chris McCarthy.
Very impressed by him.
Someone lend him Alex Jakes just to have someone to talk to.
But I just found it funny that in both the FRECA races, so they're both 30 minutes long, after 1 minute and 20 seconds of each race, the safety car was deployed.
Yeah.
This is, I think maybe you need a slightly smaller field.
I don't know. I quite like the big field. It's going to be interesting in Monaco, seeing 34 cars line up on the grid.
Carnage!
Oh,
we talked about Mazepin causing chaos. Just FRECA.
Yeah.
There is chaos.
And Formula 2.
Oh God, yeah. That should be okay. There's less cars in Formula 2, and they're, they've done a couple more years in racing, so hopefully it'll go a bit smoother.
Breaking news: Formula 4 to race in Monaco. Oh no, that would be insane.
That would be like Mazepin for every single car.
Yeah, I mean, generally, once the racing got going, it was all right.
Yeah.
There was some
overtaken.
Yeah, there was some good moves around the outside of turn 10 and then the inside of turn 11, 12. So that was interesting to see. I've put down that Saucy is going to win the title. He won both races this weekend, and
both were like lights to flag as well.
Yeah, he looks comfortably.
Hasn't he been on the podium every single race? But he didn't win the first one.
Right, actually, yeah.
Honestly, can't tell you for sure, but I think so.
He didn't win the first one. I can't remember who won that, but he's been on the podium every single time since, I think.
Then, after my comment of some good moves around the outside of turn 10, I've got Colapinto, questionable there, Maldonado-esque Valencia 2012, referencing his move around the outside of turn 1 off the track, inside of turn 2, punts off competitor. Kind of reminded me of Maldonado on Lewis.
And
we've seen that in Formula 3 as well, involving David Schumacher.
That was Schumacher on Fittipaldi, causing the second safety car.
Yeah, that race 2 was absolute, carnage at the end, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because there was a 6-car train for the lead, wasn't there? And then the first 2 took each other out at turn 1.
Yeah.
Then the next 2 took each other out, and then the last 2 went side by side on the last lap.
One lost his front wing. And one got a puncture as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the last 2 went side by side on the last lap, and one of them went off, which is it I don't know how you pronounce it. Is it Martins or is it a French?
Martin.
They were saying Martin, so go with that. We'll go with Alex Jakes.
I'm trusting Alex Jakes. He's usually quite accurate with these things.
And then Ollie Caldwell just won out absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, I think he was 5th or something.
Yeah, and then the
like 6 laps from the end.
Yeah,
and then they all just started crashing.
Yeah, P7 to P1, lovely job. Also, second race was Juan Manuel Correa's first point since his return.
Absolutely delighted for him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely couldn't have a nicer guy
to
be on the grid, I don't think.
And then the only other point I made was that Arthur Leclerc, younger brother of Charles Leclerc, went from P28 to P12, but then got hit with a post-race penalty. So I don't actually know where he finished up.
I think he finished back at P24.
There was someone in FRECA, I can't remember their name, but does beat that. Went from P34 to P12.
Oh yeah, I know.
I can't remember who it was, but yeah.
On the topic of FRECA, I do want to highlight the absolute shade that the commentator threw after the F3 race 2, because it was beautiful. Basically, Hadja passed Min. Who was Min? I can't remember what his actual full name. Mini, yeah. Around the outside of the 1, 2, 3, and the commentator just comes over and says, "I hope the F3 drivers were watching, because that's how you do it." And it's just like, that is top banter, because having had 2 battles for the lead, punt themselves off at turn 2.
See, I never quite got that reference when I first watched it, because I watched the races the other way around. I watched both FRECA races and then watched all 3 Formula 3 races. But yeah, he wasn't holding back. Dennis Hauger got a 10-second time penalty for causing a collision in race 2, which meant he finished 78 seconds behind the leader, as opposed to, sorry, not behind the leader, behind Arthur Leclerc, who also had a 10-second time penalty for violation of minimum delta under safety car. So speeding behind the safety car, in essence.
Where was I? Where do I pick up from? Race
3 in Formula 3 was just pretty tame. It wasn't as exciting as the other two, I would say.
Yeah, I've just said that Hauger got a bad start but rescued it. Colombo got a puncture on lap 3, and that was his race done at that point because he was a lap down when he came out.
Yeah.
Doohan was on an absolute flyer until he got to about P2, and then just kind of settled in. Villa Gomez got a 5-second penalty for forcing someone off the track. Obviously, he was watching Mazepin last year.
Must have been, yeah.
And then, I took notes on the podium of Hauger P1, Doohan P2, both pretty comfortable at the front, and then Nannini podium in P3, and he's also racing in F2 this year, so he's doing a double.
Yeah, doing double duty, yeah.
It's HWA, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, HWA, yeah.
So he's going to be a busy boy.
It'll be interesting to see what championship he finishes higher in.
Well, he's scored points in F2, but
yeah,
now he's got a podium in F3 as well. So
yeah,
he's doing well.
So we'll take you through the top 10 of the Formula 3 standings because it's a 30-car grid. So leading the way is Dennis Hauger with 34 points. Then it's Ollie Caldwell with 32. Clement Novalak is in third with 28. Victor Martin is in fourth with 24. Jack Doohan is in fifth with 21. Collet is in sixth with 20. Frederick Vesti is in seventh with 20. Smollier is eighth with 17. Matteo Nannini is in ninth with 16. And Edgar is 10th with 11th. I think last year's Formula 3 vice champion or third place driver, Logan Sargent, only has 10 points and is in 11th after the first round.
He swapped teams as well, though, because he was in Prema last year.
Yeah, I was surprised that he didn't move up, really. But then
Charouz now, is it?
Yeah.
With Enzo Fittipaldi.
I mean, there are only so many seats in Formula 2.
Yeah.
Because those are 2 driver teams as opposed to 3 driver teams that we see in Formula 3 and FRECA.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Formula 3 and FRECA.
I'll run you through the top 10 of FRECA, seeing as I've got it open. So in 10th, you've got Isaac Hadjar with 12 points. 9th is Mari Boyer with 15 points. Both of those are rookies. In 8th is Zane Maloney on 17 points. In 7th is William Alatalo with 26 points. In 6th is Gabriel Mini, who's the leading rookie of the championship, also on 26 points. In 5th is Hadrian David on 27 points. 4th is Alex Quinn on 30 points. 3rd is David Vidales on 31. 2nd is Paul Aron on 45. And leading the way is Gregoire Saucy on 60 points.
Quite a big gap already there. So let's come to the sort of main crust of this week. Track changes. Do they work? I think my answer to that is yes.
Mine is a mixed bag, to be honest, because the turn 10...
It depends on the circuit, but turn 10 definitely seems to work in Spain.
It really worked better for the lower formulas, though.
Yeah.
Like, it worked better for the support races than it did for Formula 1. So I feel like maybe 2022 regs will mean that turn 2 will be better for Formula 1.
It should be stressed, though, that the change wasn't done for Formula 1.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It was done for the bikes. Formula 1 just happened to be like, okay, we'll drive there too.
Yeah.
Although they didn't have to, because the old turn 10 is still there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if this year had gone completely badly and nothing happened at turn 10, I could see them going, we're going to use the old one again next year.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I don't think it was terrible. And I think next year's cars are going to suit it better. Having seen the amount of moves the F3 cars and FRECA cars were trying around the outside or inside of 10, bodes well for a car that has less downforce, which is essentially what the new regs is trying to aim towards.
I think we should revisit this track changes topic once we've been to Australia.
Yes.
Because that's going to be the main test for it. I wonder if we'll get a sneak preview of these track changes on the game.
Oh, don't hold your breath. Codemasters.
Yeah. You'll release it in 2022.
Yeah.
Sometime.
But yeah, if we do get that sneak preview on the game, it will be interesting to have a drive at them before the drivers drive on them.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Vietnam.
Yeah. It was a bit like last year where it was starting to threaten that the game would release before the season started.
Yeah, that was scary.
Thankfully, we got the season started a week earlier than the game released. But yeah, it was like, are we going to have the game before we have any on-track action? What? But yeah, no, I think track changes can be incredibly positive. There's some circuits that desperately need some track changes. Abu Dhabi, for instance.
Sochi.
Spain still needs changes. Just get rid of the chicane, please.
I think there's been
just get rid of it.
There's been talk of that for a while, hasn't there? But they've always been reluctant because wasn't there a fatal accident in MotoGP a few years ago there?
But I think MotoGP still use that corner.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, MotoGP do.
Yeah, so
I think it's the
if there was
F1
a fatal
guys.
accident in MotoGP, you could understand MotoGP not using it, but F1's even safer than MotoGP.
Yeah, the F1 commentators were saying that it was like a lack of runoff space or something. I mean, there is runoff there. Yeah. It's not insanely long, but you wouldn't be going insanely fast by the time you get to that corner.
But we go racing on street circuits.
I know, exactly.
There's no runoff
concrete
at all.
barriers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to Baku Castle section.
Yeah, sometimes there's only so much you can do. Like
Mazepin is definitely going to spin in the castle section. We're definitely going to have a red flag because of it.
And he's going to do that. He's going to do what Raghunathan did, where he goes down the escape road and he tries to do like a million-point turn. Can't get out. But
well, no, he could find reverse. He just couldn't spin because he didn't have the idea of just lighting his rear tires up and just going wee.
Oh God.
Yeah, but I think in terms of that turn 10 at Spain, I think for me it actually worked better for qualifying than anything. I mean, there's no overtaking there in the race anyway, even on the old turn 10 was there, but
not really.
I think it made the last sector flow quite nicely. I mean, that little uphill kink followed by what was a slow right-hander I didn't really like that before, at least not on the game anyway.
I think I'll enjoy driving it on the game because turn 11 was brutal. If you took even just the slightest wrong line, you were spinning.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that'll improve that so that you're not just auto spinning anytime you drive round that corner.
Yeah, but now obviously in terms of track changes, sometimes there's only so much you can do. Like you mentioned Abu Dhabi, for instance, they can't really remove that first chicane at the end of the first sector, can they?
But they can.
But then there's a wall right there.
I mean, this is Abu Dhabi. They literally make islands for fun.
Yeah, to be fair, they probably could just pick the grandstand up and move it back, couldn't they?
But not even the grandstand isn't in the way because there's already track. Like there's actually track there that Formula One uses as a runoff chicane.
Yeah.
Beside the actual chicane. Why not just have it be the track?
Yeah,
and we'll go straight into the hairpin.
Yeah, it'll come down to the runoff distances and quotas and whatever. But
raises you Baku.
Yeah, it's always going to be. Well, I mean, at the end of the home straight, there's that absolutely massive region that they've got. But but
that's it.
yeah. It's going to be one of those ones that's always going to be debate. There's always going to be a track that we're always going to want to change.
Yeah,
and I think that's just down to we always want to see the best racing possible, and because we like racing, so if we see something that we think can be improved, we're going to want it to be improved. So it's just one of those.
I mean, not even track layouts though. Sometimes play about with alternative. Well, sorry, not track changes, but sometimes play about with alternative track layouts. Look at Bahrain.
Yeah.
The outer loop was genuinely one of the best races of the season. Silverstone, I think, has a couple of different layouts.
There's like the national circuit, and
I don't know if they're all grade 1 though, which is the issue.
They're not. They're grade 2.
Yeah. There's plenty of tracks that have different layouts. Let's play about with it. Like, let's have some fun with the circuits. If we're getting
utilize the other tracks that have grade 1.
Yeah, or let's go to different. We've already had that podcast, Richard.
If you haven't seen it, go and check out episode 3.
But yeah, like if there are other layouts there, let's use them. If we're getting boring race after boring race, do something different, please, FIA. Please.
Please, we're begging you.
Please, just don't go to Spain.
Yeah.
Please.
Well, I wouldn't. After yesterday, I wouldn't mind going back to Spain.
Don't get me wrong, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't like the opening 2 races of the season.
But the opening 2
Granted, Imola was very much rain.
Yeah.
But Bahrain was pretty much a banger.
Yeah, but it's Bahrain. Bahrain is an amazing circuit.
So let's go to more. Let's do it.
Do it again.
What I mean is, of course, just 23 races in Bahrain.
Yeah.
We've got 5 layouts.
Yeah. But did they not have 6? There's the oval as well.
Sod it. 12 layouts if you run them backwards.
Yeah.
That's good enough for me.
I remember that was a rumor for 2020. It was like, yeah, we're going to run the races backwards, and then the FIA were like, no.
Runoffs and barriers and what? No.
Yeah. There's some circuits you probably could run backwards.
Yeah.
But
Silverstone is not one of them.
Right.
Nor
when that was a rumor, I just couldn't even believe that. It was like, it's so obviously not going to happen.
It's like going into Radion, the cars would take off. They would literally fly.
That would be like, there was that corner in Portugal where it was like you come over the crest and it was like your feet come off the pedal.
Yeah.
Like, it would be that, but like 10 times more.
It would be that, but the car would come off the ground.
I don't know, because you've just come off the Kemmel Straight, so you're pulling maximum downforce at that point. Full credit to anyone who has the balls to go flat through Radiano Rouge backwards. Christ,
let's do a game experiment after we record, Richard.
I've seen it before. It definitely works on the game, but
I think Charles did it. Yeah, I think Charles and Lando and Alex and stuff did it during lockdown.
Yeah, when they did the backwards races.
Yeah. And everybody was just like, and this is why we're not running Spa backwards, because the track just vanishes.
That'd be so scary. You're just driving along and there's just nothing there. You just see the grandstand of turn 1 in the distance, and you're like, how did we get from here to all the way down there? What?
Yeah. Although there would be some tracks I think I would maybe like to see backwards. Hungary backwards would be quite interesting, I think. Where you've got a DRS straight onto a DRS straight, but it's the short onto the long rather than the long onto the short. It might spice up Hungary because the races there are relatively dull.
Why don't we try Yas Marina backwards just for the bants?
Why don't we just not go to Yas Marina?
I mean, yeah, I'd rather that, but let's be honest, they've paid so much money to be the season finale that we're gonna have to go to Yas Marina at some stage.
Bahrain backwards would be quite fun as well.
Yeah.
That opening chicane being the last chicane
suddenly becomes a heavy braking zone instead of an acceleration point.
Yeah.
The problem with doing tracks backwards is it like all corners would become like late apexes, wouldn't they? So you'd never be able to overtake because you carry so much entry speed, wouldn't you? But yeah, I don't think
literally just the hairpins would retain their overtake ability.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's the technical term.
Yeah, because any heavy braking zones would become accelerations. Accelerations would become braking zones. It wouldn't work.
So it's a lovely idea in practice.
Yeah.
In theory, but it's rubbish in practice.
Yeah, it's a lovely idea in theory. In practice, it just would be guff.
Yeah.
You thought
maybe you should
was
design
Try doing a track backwards.
Design a racetrack that's good forwards and backwards. I dare you, because it just won't work one way. I mean, you could design you could do what Paul Ricard have done and make a car park and have a forwards and reverse layout of that. That's pretty much easy enough. I think honestly, Paul Ricard's probably the closest we can get to running a race backwards. Yeah, I think it's just what is currently the last corner, the lack of runoff there, that is the only issue. Yeah, because everywhere else is just acres of runoff. So all the stripes that give all the viewers sore heads. Yes. Yes. And do nothing to penalise drivers that run wide. Exactly. So I think that's it for this week.
F1 Fantasy?
Oh, yeah. I haven't looked at my score, so I was hoping everyone had forgotten about that. Because I don't know how well I did. I'm concerned.
I mean, we've also got podium predictions to get through.
Oh, yeah.
I have Tsunoda on both my teams.
While I load up F1 Fantasy, can you run us through the podium league?
Yeah, so in 7th is Mason, still 7th on 12 points now. In 6th, and down 2 places from last race week, is Chris on 13 points. In 5th, and staying the same, is Nia on 14 points. Up 2 places from last week, and now on 22 points is Alex. And then in 3rd place is myself on 23 points. In 2nd place is Ben, also on 23 points. And in 1st place, also on 23 points, is Sonia.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Top 3 is only separated by countback. So that's, it's getting a bit spicy at the top. In terms of social media, in 3rd place, we have Cozy Neon Knights, who scored 4 points. In 2nd place, we have Inda, who got 15 points, but predicted theirs 2nd. So in first place, and for the 2nd week running, we have Lily again on 15 points. So Verbot has not let her down. We have F1 Fantasy. And I don't actually think there's been any movement.
I don't think so.
I've
in the leaderboard.
I was second last week.
Oh yeah, Ben's winning now.
Oh.
No, what?
So
hear that pain.
Let's go this from 8th to 1st. In 8th is Richard. 7th is Nia. 6th is me. 5th is Alex. 4th is Nia again. 3rd is Richard, 2nd is Richard, and the new leading team is Ben. Yeah, I got shafted by Tsunoda.
I did. I have him on both my teams.
Absolutely.
So
I subbed him out.
You have made a wise decision this day.
Smug face inserted here.
So I actually finished 4th for the race week. It's just my Imola week that's absolutely done me dirty. When I finished last.
I think I might have moved up from 4th to 3rd with my 2nd team.
Possibly.
My 2nd team outscored my 1st team. So sad. So, yeah, Perez did bits. The Mercedes engine did bits. Russell with 10 points. Ocon with 9. Ricciardo with 23. And then Tsunoda with minus 14. Why you do this to me, Yuki? Why? No. So if Yuki hadn't DNF'd, I would have finished in 3rd for the race week. Instead, I finished joint 4th. Alas. Yuki, what are you doing, man? Don't retire. So this week's winning team is Ben with 184 points. Let's have a look at that team. It's just Leclerc.
Yeah,
so it is.
It's just Leclerc. With the turbo driver points, and Verstappen as well with 41. What was this week's lowest scoring team?
No,
it was Richard.
Please no. I mean, it was 129 points. That's a respectable haul.
It was all high scoring. It was a pretty good week for the points.
Would have been even better for everyone with Tsunoda if he didn't spin. and just go out the race, or whatever he did. I can't remember anymore.
If he had qualified well and didn't retire.
Yeah.
So actually, they were getting quite close at the top.
Got the optimum turbo driver in that team, because I could have either picked Sainz, Gasly, or Norris, really.
But all could change, because I remind you of Imola, where I scored 73 points and the winner scored 211, or Bahrain, where Richard scored 67 points and the winner scored 178.
I'll remind you of Germany 2019, where I scored minus points.
Yeah.
What? Oh, God.
Let me try to remember this. I had Hamilton, so he finished 9th, didn't he? Hulkenberg, DNF. Gasly, DNF. Bottas, DNF. And Russell, possibly. I can't remember. Something like that. No, it was Norris, DNF as well, actually. So I had 4 drivers, DNF.
That's brutal.
That is pain.
Yeah.
And then Mercedes as well, I think, as well.
That's just pain.
The scores for F1 play,
which I remembered to do this week,
are as follows. Nia, 3 points. Me, 3 points. Richard, 5 points.
The bot pulling it through.
So let's do some quick sums. 4, 9, 13, 16 for me. So I've got 16 out of 40 overall so far. Richard has 5, 8. Richard has 13 points after a 0 in Portugal.
Yeah, that's not bad.
And Nia has 3, 7, 10 points. So, and although they don't sound amazing, that's all with points accuracies of over 25%. Just putting that out there.
I'll take it. Given
in terms of a league. So
given how specific they want you to be with this thing, it's not bad.
Exactly. It's very difficult to score well. And the majority of players score between 3 and 5.
Yeah, the mean was 5 this week.
Yeah.
I feel everyone just went hammer bot.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to start doing that now, just every week. Just like,
I think
DNF
I might go different for Mark. I think I might put Max on top.
Well, I've already put my predictions in, so I know what I went for.
I think we can just go with like
stay tuned for
any variation. I'll just go with like any variation of that top 3, and then Mazepin DNF, and just mix the rest of it up as I go along.
So yeah, that is it for this week's episode of the Turn 5 podcast. Join us next week when we discuss the Monaco E-Prix as a prelude to the Monaco Grand Prix. Also, just to put it out there may be some changes to the faces on the podcast over the next few weeks, because I'm part of Euro, so I might not be here on a Monday. I don't know yet. I might be working. And Euro is a thing, so we might be watching matches. So the upload day may shift slightly. We're not sure. Euro is a big thing, and it does sadly clash with F1. Big sad. So yeah, we might have to find a new host for a couple of weeks. We'll see. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. As always, like and subscribe and comment and all that lovely stuff on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all the places. And we will see you next week. Ta-ta for now.
Bye.
Bye.